Thank you for being here. My name is Omer Azizi. Today I'll be presenting about brickless schools. This is not just a research project for me. It has tremendous value to me because it talks about my lifetime goal of coming up with a solution for the education for the kids in Afghanistan and refugee kids in Pakistan and many other nations in need. So brickless school, just to briefly first say what is it it's about. This research proposes an idea that a vast majority of students can be reached and given world-class education through low-cost computer tablets with built-in educational apps, virtual classes, with an optional online tutoring system that will be provided by the volunteers. Now, this will address the need for the lack of school buildings in Afghanistan. About over $500 billion spent in Afghanistan, and the government is still struggling to offer education for millions of students in there. So, just to talk briefly about Afghanistan, Afghanistan has been in war for since 1978. It's been 4 decades, despite post-2001 invasion of the Western forces and eradicating of Taliban from there. The war is still going on, and there are some consequences. Millions of people were displaced, injured, or were killed, and nationwide development during the time that the world was moving towards tech boom, Afghanistan was going backwards. And the monuments and infrastructure, the roads, the schools, everything were being destroyed. The schools were either destroyed or banned. And once again, Afghanistan is still struggling in 2016 to offer education to the children in there. And status of education. So government cannot afford to build more schools. And the Ministry of Education says that there are millions of students who either they're not schools in their villages, in their cities, or there are lack of qualified instructors. There are few instructors in there that have bachelor degrees, and most of the instructors are just having a high school diploma. And UNICEF finds the nation among 4 worst affected countries in terms of education. And if nothing else goes wrong, of course there's terroristic attacks, schools become closed down, and then children do not have access for weeks, months. So brickless school, through these educational tablets, there will be a way for the students to be at home and still have access to education and a system of education just like the public schools, and continue to study. So this project heavily relies on the access to power and electricity. I'm sure all of you will think about whether there's electricity in Afghanistan. So the answer is yes. 40% of Afghans have access to electricity. And the production is at the moment 1,100 megawatts. And from this 1,100 megawatts, 30% is domestically generated, the rest is being imported, again due to the lack of infrastructure in there. And 70% is being imported from the neighbor countries like Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. While the nation has potential to generate over 300,000 megawatts, which is more than what the country will need through resources such as wind, water, and solar, but unfortunately they're not able to utilize those resources. And but thankfully there are many projects underway. Even since last year, for instance, Asian Development Bank announced that they granted $1.2 billion for these projects to be empowered, new projects to go underway, and this will help the domestic generation to boost from 30% to 67%. And the country's total power will increase from 40% to 80% by 2030. Also, last month actually, the Turkmenistan president announced that they're going to double their supply and export of electricity to Afghanistan. Once again, 70% of the current electricity is being supplied by Turkmenistan. So that's a great news for the people of Afghanistan. And computer tablets. So as we all know, computer tablets are costly. It ranges from $100 to about $1,000. But the Canadian firm DataWin is aiming to produce the world's ultra-cheap tablets for $20. The current model is for approximately about $37, and it's right now supplied in India and Canada. And such model at the moment, which is UV Slate 7CI, it has a resolution, 7-inch resolution, and the capacity to operate over 150,000 apps through the operating system of Google Android. And it has a capacity of even running Microsoft Suite, which is great for educational purposes. And also, the current UV Slate has a space of 32 GB, which is sold for $37, which is affordable. Textbooks are costing more than that in Afghanistan at the moment because everything is being imported. The country is not able to produce, and they don't have the companies or factories to produce those things. So, brickless initial agenda. So, because only 10% of people in Afghanistan have access to internet. Another challenge, because this will partially rely on online tutoring system. It can start off as offline project with sufficient built-in programs, virtual classes, like Khan Academy, for instance. The programs can be designed in a way that it will have minimum need of online tutoring at the moment, initially, but then it can move on. And in the areas such as Kabul, which has 24-hour electricity and internet, tutors can offer their services. Now, where the tutors going to come from? The picture in there is African American Conference members, which I'm a part of. It was taken in UCLA Law School. Now, this is, these people are all Harvard students, Stanford, and even MiraCosta College student. Now, we all have one thing in common, community, and our resolve and determination to offer solutions for those communities. We are right now active. We have an African American online network, and we help people in need, from refugees coming in the US with the community needs, to even helping people going volunteering in Afghanistan. Now, all of these people are qualified, and we can offer tutoring services. And this is only a few of us who know about it. This conference was made last year, and I was lucky enough to become one of the leading members. Next steps. So all the data that I collected was not by the internal sources of Afghanistan, since they're not able to research and do consensus. It was by external sources like USAID, UN, which can be, there's not enough of resources. The nation, as I mentioned, is not able to gather reliable data. And this brickless school research project at the moment will be a stepping stone for me to study further about it and perfect this project and hopefully bring it to action. And brickless schools could potentially bring back the education to those millions of Afghan children who don't have access to education and help end the war. Thank you so much.
So we have plenty of time for questions?
Oh, yes. Questions. Please, I would love to answer questions.
Instead of using kind of regular electricity, could you perhaps kind of use solar panels as a way to power the tablets? Is that a possible means of providing the power source?
There have been initiatives by UNHCR, by USAID, and for instance, some African countries. The problem with that is the cost of tablets increased with that. And at the moment, such a project that's the main goal is to be cost effective and low cost. Unfortunately, solar options can be more costly at the moment. In the future, of course, if the solar electricity will be more available than the normal electricity, then I think it's possible. At the moment, for such tablets, it will heavily rely on the traditional way of powering the tablets itself. But that's a great idea. Unfortunately, it will increase the cost of the tablets. And the country is not able to have those panels in Afghanistan. They're borrowing the electricity, and they want to go through the traditional ways because that's more cost effective at the moment.
What about Wi-Fi access in the country?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Wi-Fi, the internet in Afghanistan, as I mentioned, 10% of the people have access to it, mainly the capital itself, which is the hub of the universities, schools. So there can be Wi-Fi, once again. So if the project starts in Kabul, and if there's Wi-Fi, more students will have access to it. If it goes to the villages, to the other cities of Afghanistan, there may be no access to Wi-Fi, which is why these tablets should have sufficient programs to have minimum reliance on internet. But that can be always an option.
What's holding up the project right now?
I just started it. Thanks to my professor who gave me the chance to take this contract honors class. I actually started this class as a non-honor student. And then she informed us that there's honors. I'm like, I will do it. And I realized, hey, it's about time. The alternative education system that I'm thinking about to come up with something and write about it. So this is the initial writings of mine on this project.
What's going to be the emphasis of your curriculum? Once you have, you might say, the infrastructure to provide the education, what's going to be some of the curriculum courses that you will be emphasizing?
And that's a good question, thank you. Since the project was within 6 to 8 pages, I could not address almost everything, but that's a great question. Now I have a chance to talk about it. So the project will have to convince and work with the Ministry of Education in Afghanistan to merge the current traditional curriculum that's being taught in those schools and include the world-class education system that's being taught in US. So there will be no difference. It should be the same, and probably they can be encouraged to follow this system, because at the moment the curriculum in there and the studies, the chapters have been written like 30 years ago. So no agency, there are not enough people to work on our books and our textbooks, because it's Farsi and we don't have any textbook. It's not that we can import anything, and unfortunately the work has not been done. And I'm confidently talking about this because I just moved from Afghanistan in 2014. So my personal experience itself says a lot about how the schools work in Afghanistan. So it can also convince the people in there, for instance, this program should make sure that it's not about bringing Western culture, Western education to Afghanistan. It has to convince the people in there that we can include social studies, we can include religious studies, we can include prayer times, to encourage those people to embrace such a thing and not think about technology. I don't know what's going to play, if there are going to be videos, many things. People are reluctant to embrace the Western, anything that comes from the West. So it has to do its best convincing people that it's not changing everything, but it's just an upgrade to the education system.
The organization that you're involved in, the university students, I forgot the name of it.
Afghan American Conference.
How did you get involved with that?
So they send out emails, they try to through Facebook. Afghan Americans are one of the few immigrants and people in US that do not have a network. And because there's few of them, unlike Irani groups, unlike many other immigrants, there is a community in there. But Afghans have not been able to build a community. So Harvard students, so there was like 3 or 4 Harvard students that started this initiative and sending out emails through Facebook. And I found out about it. There was my counselor, Afifa, a wonderful lady. So she also found out about it, and we both, MiraCosta was kind enough to fund our travel, and we went there, and I was blown away. I thought there are no, there's no community of us. There's few, but then I realized there's so many qualified people who thought the same thing, and now we have an online network. The jobs are being posted. There are many projects that are posted, and you can apply, and then they can help you out with anything. They post that, hey, we're going out and helping homeless people in LA, and I went and I helped with them. So they're great initiatives. We're all now connected, and we're growing and growing, and people from UK and Canada are like sending us emails if you want to join. So there's a huge network, and all these people are so dedicated to help Afghans. And in our own community in here, that we're not doing that good. We're always talking about Afghanistan. We're doing really bad in US. By bad, I mean we're not progressing compared to other groups of immigrants. So we're addressing those issues in here, and also at the same time helping those people. We even went to Greece, most of us, I didn't, I couldn't, to help those refugees. So it's amazing how active they are. And you know what? They put in donations, and within a night we donated over $100,000. So it's super active and strong community. And this is only our first year. So next time, and you can't just go and join. You apply like a scholarship and convince them why you're qualified enough to join. So which is why I say this is I'd like to brag and say elite group of Afghans.
What about for the difference? Is there, in general, this kind of, I don't know if you know this, but is there less women that go to school? Would this help equalize that by having them study at home? Would that help equalize?
Correct. There's a reluctancy in Afghan culture to have their daughters to go to school. No thanks to the religious fundamentalism in Afghanistan. So if those people, mostly in the villages, can see their students, their daughters will have minimum need of going to these traditional schools, so they will be encouraged to send their daughters to maybe once a week with supervision. They sometimes do, and then the rest of the schoolwork can be done in Afghanistan. I mean, at their homes. Now, this may not be the ideal way of students being outside the school community, but this is something that's at least needed initially. Once the students get educated, then they can change their communities. Then they will demand more rights and equal rights in there.
So I grew up in Fremont, and that has the largest Afghan population outside of Kabul, correct?
Yeah.
Have you done anything with Silicon Valley to get support, grants from Silicon Valley?
I will be. Once again, I just started writing this like a month ago, but definitely. There are a lot of questions and challenges that the research needs to answer, and genuinely, not just out of optimism, but through scientific statistics and facts for it to become successful. So for that, more work needs to be done, more research, and if I have to travel in there, I would. But this is something that I'll carry with me with my research school, and I'm very much hoping to get into USC or Stanford to work on this further.
Time for one final question.
All right.